Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a completely different look at the world. We're going to be seeing it through the eyes of others, dogs, birds, and, most importantly, the smaller humans living right alongside us. We are unpacking an absolutely brilliant photo essay by photographer and professor Won-Jin Choi. He explores this really fascinating idea, how our physical perspective, literally just where our eyes are positioned in space, completely changes our psychological reality. It's one of those things that sounds kind of obvious at first, right? But once we dive into the mechanics of it, I promise you, it's going to entirely shift how you understand the physical world and, more importantly, how you connect with the people in it. So let's do a little mental time travel. Think back for a second. Have you ever gone back to your childhood home? Maybe stood in the old backyard, or even visited your old elementary school playground or kindergarten classroom? If you have, you know exactly the feeling I'm talking about. There's this super bizarre yet totally universal feeling that just washes over you the second you step foot back in those spaces as a full-grown adult. Suddenly, everything in those memories feels completely off. It's literally like you've teleported into a land of tiny people. The monkey bars, the classroom door frames, the desks, everything that used to feel so vast and grand, it all feels completely shrunken. You catch yourself wondering, how in the world did I ever fit down that tiny yellow slide? Now, the physical space obviously hasn't changed at all. So what exactly is happening here? Let's break this down in part one, the physics of perspective. Photographer Won-Jin Choi points out something so fascinating about this, and it boils down to basic biology. Our perception of size is directly tied to the actual physical distance between our eyes. When we were little kids, our eyes were, naturally, closer together. But as we grew up, that pupillary distance increased. And that subtle physical change actually alters the way we perceive the scale of the entire world. So that weird feeling on the playground, it's not just nostalgia. It is quite literally a biological lens shift. But it doesn't stop at just the space between our eyes. Our perspective drastically shifts depending on our physical angle too. When a subject is viewed from above, looking down at it, it naturally appears small, right? Almost insignificant. But take that exact same subject and view it from below, looking upward. And suddenly it seems large, strong, and vastly more imposing. The psychological impact of these two angles is absolutely huge. Looking down inherently diminishes a subject, while looking up naturally magnifies power and authority. And honestly, this dynamic explains so much about the real world. I mean, think about it. As kids, this is exactly why we felt so easily intimidated by the older, bigger kids at recess. It's why small animals in the wild instinctively fear larger ones. It even explains everyday architectural choices. Have you ever noticed that slight raised platform for the teacher at the front of a traditional classroom? Conscious design or not, that slight elevation physically forces students to look up. It instantly reinforces the teacher's presence and authority through sheer physical perspective alone. Which brings us to part two, a child's terrifying city. Okay, picture this. You're taking a walk through an ordinary city, but your eyes are only 3 feet off the ground. Suddenly, the world is a highly intimidating place. The buildings around you seem incredibly tall and foreboding. Speeding cars are literally towering over your field of vision. Totally mundane things like door handles are just completely out of your reach. And let's be real, an adult walking by with a handbag isn't just carrying an accessory. From down there, it's a massive, threatening wrecking ball swinging right at your face. A delivery worker rushing past with a metal food carrier, that's a giant, heavy, moving obstacle you have to dodge. Just navigating this environment forces an intense physical reaction. To stay visible among those giant speeding cars, a child instinctively throws their hand up, just hoping to be seen. And imagine stepping onto a crowded city bus at that height. Your view isn't out the window, it's just completely blocked by the torsos of towering adults pressing in on you from every single side. The logical result? You are left feeling utterly confined, trapped, and entirely overwhelmed by a world that was clearly not built for your physical scale. And man, living in that reality every single day takes a huge emotional toll. Choi notes that in a giant world where simple physical considerations seem so hard to come by, a child might naturally feel a pretty deep anger toward the carelessness of adults. But we rarely see children express that anger. Why? Well, maybe they just haven't learned the words for it yet. But more likely, they stay quiet because the sheer physical fear of navigating this giant looming world just entirely overwhelms them. Let's shift gears to part three, the photographic disconnect. So how do we adults usually interact with this miniature world? Well, we pull out our phones. Parents take countless photos and videos of their kids from way up high, because let's face it, they look adorable looking up at us. But Choi points out a really massive irony here. By constantly shooting from above, looking down at kids, these images completely and utterly fail to capture how the child is actually experiencing the world. That massive difference in height creates a total, fundamental disconnect. But Choi offers a pretty amazing practical fix for this. If an adult just stands there snapping a photo, the camera completely misses the child's true experience. You just end up with a small, diminished subject. But if a parent actually physically descends, if they just kneel or sit down before taking that picture, the camera suddenly captures a child who appears way more confident, lively, and joyful. They actually own their space. And if you're willing to go even further, to actually lie completely flat on the ground, you unlock an entirely different perspective. You capture the world authentically, exactly as the child sees it, through their own eyes. And that brings us to our final takeaway. Part 4. Eye level is empathy. Getting down to eye level, it is so much more than just a trick for taking better photos. It is the absolute antidote to that terrifying city dynamic we explored a few minutes ago. It's a physical descent that bridges that massive gap between our adult reality and the child's reality. Think about it. When we drop to our knees to meet a child right at their level, we are actively stepping out of our giant, imposing world and choosing to enter theirs. It is a really profound shift in how we relate to one another. I want to leave you with this absolutely brilliant thought from Won-Jin Choi, and I really want you to let this sink in. Meeting someone at eye level is an act of empathy. It is an expression of love. Perspective matters so much. By simply changing where we position ourselves in a physical space, we literally change the psychological reality of our interactions. So, it really begs the question, who else in your life right now might benefit from you taking just a moment to step out of your own perspective, drop down, and meet them exactly where they are? Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope this changes the way you look at the world and the people in it today. Catch you next time.